Hi, are you looking for the 5 ways that you can find clients in a down market if you're a real estate agent? Well, then you're in the right place. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent, and this is the Referral Mastermind call. We do 3 things when we get on these calls. Number one, I share new material with you for some ideas to stimulate your brain and your business. That's what we're going to talk about first, our hot topic, the 5 ways. And then we open up for anything we can do to talk about to help you advance your referral business. That's in part 2. So if you have any specific questions about referrals and how to get more. And in part 3, we're going to be talking about anything in your business to help you move forward and take another step forward on any topic at all. But today we got this hot topic on how to generate leads in the down market. Probably asking yourself, how does that relate to referrals, repeating referrals? Well, sometimes you run out of enough business with repeating referrals and you need more people to bring into your sphere to get that going. And by the way, some of these ideas I'm going to talk about actually tie back into your sphere. You'll see that as well. All right, let me go ahead and get the screen up and running, and just take a second here. There we go. I think you should be seeing my screen, and let me try to make sure nothing is conflicting. Just give me another second, and we're going to start up. Let me just close this. Where's that? Hide. There we go. Finally found it. Sorry about the delay. I should be an expert at this, but I'm not. Still learning everything. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about the 5 ways to find clients in a down market. This is going to be pretty cool, pretty exciting information. Let's go ahead and move on. My screen keeps showing this other thing at the top. I think it's going to keep doing that, but I want to make sure everybody gets in that wants to be here. All right, let's talk about the 5 ways to find clients in a down market. So you should take some notes or take a screenshot of this when we get done, but let's start walking through those ways. So number 1 is my favorite, and that is PCSOI. And the reason, by the way, this is my favorite is it's the top agent's favorite. This is how they're generating the majority of their business, whether they're on a team or they're a solo agent. Most of their business is coming from repeated referral. And so that's why I think that you should be reaching out to these people. These are your past clients, your sphere of influence, so your friends and family, as well, of course, as people that have done business with you in the past. Well, they're most likely to repeat, do it again if they're a past client, or refer, whether they're a past client or sphere, or come in new if they haven't used you yet. You need to have a consistent program to reach out to those folks. That's something we talk about in the Referral Agent Mastery System. That's something we talk about on this call. And also in phase 2 of this call, we're happy to talk about your specific situation and how you may be trying to get more repeating referral. When you move into a down market, there are going to be fewer people. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to let people in here. When you're moving into a down market, you're going to have fewer people moving. That's just what's going to happen, right? What our situation is, again, real fast here today, for somebody maybe watching this at a later date, we got the situation where interest rates have gone up. They've actually over doubled. They went from basically 3% for 30-year fixed to 7%. So interest rates double. That makes the prices that people have to pay, the monthly payment, double. And so that creates a lot of affordability challenges and issues. And so that's happening in our market, as well as we are at a peak in our market where property values have gone up over 40% in the last couple of years in most markets, some a little more, some a little less. It's really gone up. It was already high. It was already the peak, but we won't go into the dynamics of why. Let's just know that's what we are sitting in. Because of that, there are a lot of homeowners that don't want to move. They don't want to sell their home with this great low interest rate, low payment. And just to go into another home where they're going to have a much higher payment, right? If they were just to go across from the current home they're in to a similar home with the same price range, then their monthly payment could double, triple, or even quadruple depending on all the dynamics. That's not very attractive for most people, right? Let alone if they were to go to a more expensive home, it would be even worse. So a lot of people are going to be sitting still. They're going to be sitting pat. That's going to reduce the number of people that you have available on all these sources, including your PCSOI. So that's why we're going to talk about these other sources that can generate some business and some tie-ins back in your PCSOI. So just know that whatever you've been getting in the past in PCSOI, repeat and referral, it's going to be less over the next 12 to 24 months. It's not going to go away, though. That's the key I want you to get with this whole point of number one, is it's not going to diminish to zero. Okay, there's still going to be people that have to move. That's what's going to happen, is you're going to find have to movers. Okay, for whatever reason, it's usually a big life event, like somebody was born, right? You had the baby, or somebody died, a death in the family. Income, somebody got a bonus, they're making a lot more money, or somebody lost their job. These are major life events. Somebody gets relocated to another market and they have to sell. These are the type of events that are coming about and that you need to be aware of. And they're going to be in your past clients and sphere of influence group. So if you haven't done it in the past, please start doing it. And if you're already doing it, keep doing it. Keep staying in touch with your friends, family, and past clients, because they're going to be a great source of business for you coming up. Your messaging may change with them a little bit. You're going to see that in the next couple of points about how you reach out to them with what kind of offers. But just the main offer of, hey, you want to sell your home? We can get you a market analysis. You want to buy some homes? We get you a list of properties and you can kind of see what's out there. Those are going to be still there. It's just going to be, again, the pie just shrunk, but you're still going to get a piece of the pie. Okay, let's go on to the next group. And let me click that. There we go. All right. In a down market, I told you that a lot of the sellers are kind of frozen in place because we have a unique down market, not only a down market, but interest rates gone up, payments have gone up. That's creating these sellers being frozen in place. They don't want to move if they don't have to, right? It's not beneficial to them. They got to have some big, huge life change. Like maybe they got an inheritance and they're going to buy this massive home they always wanted. Okay, fine. So there's some weird things like that happening. But for most people, they don't want to get rid of the payment. That's why first-time home buyers are going to become very valuable. Because what I foresee, and by the way, I have no idea when I talk about the crystal ball, about what's happening in the future market. I'm just speculating that we're going into a down market based on everything I've seen. You're probably feeling it too. But that's what I'm speculating, that it's going to continue for another 12 to 24 months, maybe even longer. Okay, because a down cycle will often last 5 to 7 years. It's just people are expecting this might be a faster one because of the way it went up. It may come down different, but they're often wrong about that. The typical cycle is 5 to 7. So we could be in this for a while. That's why you want to start looking at these opportunities, preparing yourself for them, and maybe start putting some things in place. Now, first-time home buyers are going to be huge because they don't have a house to sell. They don't have an old payment that they're going to lose, right? They're making a payment to their landlord, and they're tired of that. So their life experiences, they want to get into home ownership. Their biggest problem right now is affordability. So if the price is really high and interest rates are really high, that's up here on the monthly payment, and their rent is down here. Well, what I foresee over the next, again, 6, 12, 24 months is prices are going to come down. That's what has to happen to get us back in alignment. As prices come down, by the way, in many markets, I was just seeing it again yesterday, if you start to really pay attention to this stuff, it's different markets around the country, by the way. Your local market may or may not be experiencing this yet, just like in the big downturn in 2006, 7, and 8. It took 2 years for people to get to cover all the markets in the U.S. I think this is going to be a faster this time around, but that's what it took before. But there are pockets where they're still hot, but those are going to start softening, and there are pockets that have already changed. There are markets around the U.S. that in the last 6 months, they've already fallen 5, 10, and even 20% in their value of their house. And you say, that's not going to happen to me? I hope you're right. But if it does, now you're going to be prepared. Okay, if it's already happened to you, you can start looking at these things right now. So first-time home buyers, if the prices start to come down, okay, even with the interest rates high, the affordability starts to get closer to what is rent and what is a monthly payment on a new house. So that becomes a really good opportunity. Now, the biggest holdup for a first-time home buyer, by the way, and they can move quick too, right? As long as they're at the end of their lease, they're coming up to the end of their lease, they can make a very quick transition. If they're not, by the way, put them in your database to track with them, and you want to be contacting them probably 3 to 4 months before the expiration of their lease to get them in the cycle, start looking at homes, get qualified, etc. Their biggest problem, though, is coming up with the down payment, right? Historically, it was 20%. That's huge. I don't know what your price is in your area, but let's just say 500,000. 20% is $100,000. Most people can't do that. They can never save 100,000 in their whole lifetime. So that's not going to work for them. And of course, financing programs came in to let that a little bit lower, like 10%. Okay, now we're down to 50 grand in our scenario. Still hard for people. There are programs that do 5%, 25 grand down. Still kind of hard for a lot of people, but now we're getting into feasibility. In our markets, for instance, we have FHA loans. It's just over 3%. So now we're down to around 15,000. That's starting to get a little closer. Maybe they can do it with some gift money, etc. Some you need to look into are first-time buyer down payment assistance programs in your market, especially if you're in the U.S. I'm not aware of a federal program. There used to be way back in the old days when I was doing this, but most states have a program. Okay, so you're going to look at your state level. You also have counties that are doing these things and cities that are doing these programs where they're trying to help people get into a first-time purchase for property. So I'm talking so fast, I get kind of excited. And a lot of the programs in my market, even though our average price was just over 700,000, is now coming down into the sixes and into the fives, and we're starting to move down. I'm in Denver. Basically, a first-time home buyer in one of our programs here can buy with $1,000 down. $1,000 down. Most first-time home buyers can figure that out, right? They can get a hold of $1,000. And then, of course, as a real estate agent, you know how we're going to do this. We're going to do a lot of seller contribution as well as the program. Some of these programs are first combined with a second, maybe a silent second, which means it disappears after a period of time, or there are no payments on it. There's all kinds of cool features in these things. You got to start investigating these things. They're going to become valuable to you to work with these first-time home buyers and take them out of that rental, put them into a house. It's going to be a huge market. Now, the last thing I'll say about this, and again, I'm trying to just give ideas for you to start stimulating your brain, is that you're going to take this first-time home buyer idea and you're going to promote it to your sphere of influence. You're going to say, hey, look, Sally and John, I know that you don't want to move right now. You got this really low interest rate. However, we got this really cool first-time home buyer program. Do you happen to have any children that might be interested in this? Like, I've got adult children now. They'd love something like this, right? They may have it too, okay? Or you know anybody who might want to do this? They may have a nephew or a niece that's in this situation, okay? Or just another relative of some kind, or a friend. I mean, you start getting the idea out there that somebody can buy with just $1,000 out of pocket. Ooh, they're all of a sudden very interested in what's going on. Your biggest challenge, by the way, with the program is investors are going to want to get in. You got to be clear, it's not an investor program, sorry. But that's what's really cool out there for the first-time buyer segment. And I think it's going to be big over the next 1, 2, 5, or even 7 years. And you should start looking into it. All right, let's go into the next idea, and that is investors. Investors are going to start popping up. Once the prices start to get back in alignment, rents are going to come up and then they'll probably settle in. Once that gets closer in valuations, we're going to start getting positive cash flow properties again. When the values went up so high, it was great if you already owned the property, but if you were an investor looking to expand your portfolio, it wasn't working so well because you couldn't get alignment. You couldn't cover up the cash flows with the rents. Well, that's going to start to change as those prices come down and the rents stabilize. Now, all of a sudden, these investors are going to have an opportunity. And the way to attack this, by the way, that I think is really going to be valuable for you is to take a property that you find that has a really good cash flow, hopefully cash flow positive, and you run the numbers. Let me want somebody in there. You run the numbers for them. on that property, excuse me, run the numbers on the property, and you make a little disclosure at the bottom. This is all estimated. You make sure you do that. But then you're going to put together some kind of promotional piece, and you're going to share that with your PCSO. Why? You're going to say, hey, have you thought about picking up a rental property? I know you don't want to move out of your house right now, but check out what else is going on around here where you can build up some wealth. And then you can maybe do an investor seminar to teach them about how this works. You can do it where you record it and they can watch it on demand. There's all kinds of cool things about how you can move that forward. But just get the idea for now that investors are going to be a really great group that you should be looking at. In particular, people who are just getting into investing, probably coming out of your PCSOI. All right. So you're going to send a promotion to them, again, either through email or social media posts, et cetera, some kind of reach out for them to tell them about that. Same with the first-time buyers. So you get a couple things now you can talk to your PCSOI about. All right, I'm going to go into the next idea here that I have for you. Again, how can you find these clients in the down market? Something's about to come back big, and it already has, depending on what market you are. It's already starting to trickle in. And something that was gone for a while, and that is expired listings, right? When our market got so hot, there are hardly any expired. Some continue to, by the way, but a much lower number. Well, today that's expanding. Now we're seeing much, much more withdrawals and expired listings. I just looked in my market over the last 30 days, 600. Okay, there is a lot of activity out there where it was shrinking down to only a couple. Now there's a lot going on. If you have a program from the past, you should start ramping it up. If you don't have a program, look around. We've got some programs out there you can take a look at over there at Mastermind Agent, but there's a lot of great programs. The key is to go after this group. Okay, the key of these expired listings. These are people who have their home listed for sale, don't know how long, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I don't know how long, but for whatever reason, it didn't sell. By the way, we know the reason. Why didn't it sell? Something you kind of have to know if you go into expired. Number one reason expired doesn't sell: price. That's right, price. It's always price, because you say, well, condition or location or whatever, that may be true, but with the right price, you can sell anything, right? If I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a 2-car garage and a basement, let me give you an example, and the market says that that kind of property is going to be selling for $500,000, okay, but I offer it to you for $5 if you buy in the next 30 seconds, who's going to buy that from me? Everybody, because the price will get over no matter where it was located, what the condition was, etc. Right? So just remember, price is the key. And it's why it didn't sell before. And if you listed at the same price it was, you're not going to be selling it either. So that's the big caution on expireds, but they're huge. The beautiful thing about expireds is they've already raised their hand and said, I want to sell my home. I want to move. Ooh, that's big, right? I was a geographic farmer. I had to look at a big, giant group of people and try to guess who was going to move. Now with expires, you know exactly who's going to move. So they've raised their hand and said they want to sell. That's number one. Number two, they said, hey, I want to hire a real estate agent, and I'm willing to pay a real estate agent. That's big, okay? So you should be going after this group of people. In your market, if it hasn't happened already, it's about to, where it's going to expand the number of expireds. Start retooling on that. You're going to start seeing a lot of business from that group. Highly recommend that. In the past, by the way, I'll mention this, in the past, top agents, number one source of leads for listings was expireds. For most top agents that I would deal with, they just love expired listings. Go after that, because you know they want to sell. All right, next, let's talk about for the next group, which is for sell by owners. Oh man, they are getting lonely out there right now, right? They either they knew about their friend who tried to sell their home last year, and they have 500 people maul their house. That ain't happening today, and it won't happen as we get further and further into down markets. You know, they're doing open houses where nobody shows up. They put their home out there, they put a sign in the yard, nobody's calling. Maybe they even put a property out there on a website and there's no activity. They're going to start getting very lonely. And when you show up and say, hey, you know, I work in your local market, I work with home buyers, do you mind if I take a look at your home? They're gonna be like, yeah, well, let's chat. And you go talk to them and you find out they're willing to pay a co-op. If they are, by the way, that means they're willing to pay a full commission if they're willing to pay a co-op. That's why you asked that question. And then you start going into, hey, what are you gonna do if this home doesn't sell? You know, have you thought about having a plan B? Could I be your plan B? You know, if this doesn't work this way, do you mind? Maybe I'll show you how I can help you sell. right? Do you need any ideas and advice? You try to be very friendly. Do you need a copy of the contract? If they sell it themselves, great. And if not, they just love you because you were helping them out. So there's an approach to for sale by owners. By the way, in those two groups, expireds real quick, okay? They're going to probably relist. I think I saw a stat. They're going to relist in 30 days, 40% of them. Okay, so they're going to relist really fast, and a lot of those are in the first couple of days. And then over time, they continue to relist. So expireds are a great group. And then for sell by owners, though, they take a little more time, depending on when you show up in their world, though. Like if they're first day on the market, they're not going to list right away. Although some of them do, by the way. That was a shocker when you start working in the market. They just don't know an agent. However, most of them want to give it a week or two or three or four or five or six. And once that time elapses, then they're looking for other possibilities. And that's where you're going to show up and be on their radar because you've already built that relationship with them. So that's the FSBOs. Again, beautiful part of a for sell by owner. You know they want to sell their home. You know they want to sell their home. And second part of that, most of them end up hiring a real estate agent after they've tried it for a little while. Okay, so those are your 5 groups, your 5 ways to find clients in the down market. But don't leave because we got some more cool stuff. All right, I decided I want to share with you 4 bonus ideas. 4 more ideas for how you can find clients in the down market. So let's rock through that. Number 1, it hasn't happened yet. Okay, but REO, real estate owned, these are bank foreclosures. This is where you list properties for a bank. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. This is going to be a source that's probably going to pick up in 6 months, 12 months down the line. The default rate on mortgages has gone up, okay, for the first 30 days. I'm trying to remember what the actual number was. I don't want to quote the wrong number. I just know that it was very, very low, and it's almost doubled depending on the type of loan that you're looking at. Those foreclosure properties, those REO properties, they're going to start working their way into the system, though, because it takes time. You have to go through a 30-day late. You got to go for 60 days late, then 90 days late. Then the bank starts to take action. The bank's going to try to work something out. The government just came out on FHA loans, for example. If somebody's getting behind the FHA loan, this is something interesting. I just found out, maybe you already knew, but the FHA program has just said, hey, if people get down, we will, and they request it, we will automatically extend it from a 30-year to a 40-year amortization. Check that out, 30-year to a 40-year amortization. Find out all the details. I haven't researched the details yet, but that's what I've heard. And what that would do is that would extend the amortization and lower their monthly payment. The idea, hey, maybe they can stay in their home if the payment's a little bit lower. Those kind of programs, moratoriums, all kinds of things are going to slow this down, but eventually it's going to trickle in. And so probably about 6 months to a year down the line, if you have been an REO agent or you want to be, now is the time to start building the relationships with the banks and the asset managers. And that's going to be a big one. In the last down market, the big one in the Great Recession, those people cleaned up the REO agents. That's something you should absolutely consider. They made the big bucks, okay? It was a lot of work. It was very stressful. They had a lot of cash. It was very difficult, okay? But they're the ones that made all the money because they had the product that everybody wanted, foreclosure homes. If any of you are old enough as I am, that was the hot product. What if you're on the other side of it? You control that listing inventory. Now you're in great position. Start lining yourself up on that. All right, next. We got short sales, same situation. If we go into this declining market as it seems, then we're going to have a lot of short sales come in. These are probably going to come out of your PCSOI, by the way. These are going to be repeating referrals. These are going to be your friends, family, and so forth calling up and saying, God, I'm in this really tough situation. I lost my job. I can't make the payment. I'm starting to go towards foreclosure. I don't want to go into foreclosure. Are there any solutions? And this is a solution, short sale. By the way, very difficult, got a lot of complication to it. It's not a perfect solution for people. They're still going to get dings on their credit, other issues that you have to advise them about. However, it becomes a source of listings and source of business, and you know they want to sell. So then you go out, and the reason it's called a short sale is you find a buyer who's going to purchase the property for less than what's owed on the property, and the bank is going to take short or take less than what they're owed. And then the bank has to agree to that. Excuse me, I need a drink here. I had to talk too quick and too much. But the bank is going to take less than what they're owed. You have to go get the bank's agreement on that. And that is what a short sale comes down to. It will close and you will get paid. It's pretty amazing in that regard. I will tell you, though, it is a lot of work, a ton of work, even more than the REOs, in my opinion, from my experience, to walk through and get all the approvals and actually make it to a closing. But in a down market, when nothing else is happening, it actually becomes a really good source of business. And if you get good at it, you can reach out to not just your sphere, but other people who are getting the a notice of demand, a notice of election of demand. Depends on what's in your market, where they're getting the notice that they're about to go into foreclosure. You can get that list. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, I want to make it through this list, is assumption loans. Okay, this is pretty cool. So you got a seller right now who has a 3% 30-year fixed loan on their property. Now, it depends on when they bought the property. If they bought it recently, there's not a lot of equity. You can do just the assumption and you're done. If they have a lot of equity, we'll talk about another idea later, which is you can fill the gap with either cash from the buyer or a seller carry second. But get the idea first. The assumption loan is basically this. The seller has an old loan with a very low interest rate and a low payment. The buyer comes in and they can qualify for their own loan. That's the key to make this work today. They can qualify for their own loan, but their new loan, it would be at 7%, where this old loan is at 3%. The old loan has a payment of, I'm just going to make up numbers, $1,000 a month, where the new loan is $2,000 a month. Same property, same loan amount. The buyer wants to take over the seller's $1,000 payment instead of paying $2,000 a month. Okay. Plus, this loan has already been paid down for a little while. Maybe it only has 27 years left instead of 30. There's all kinds of cool little advantages. You can do these loans if you can do these assumptions if the mortgage is an FHA, VA, or USDA. Okay. FHA, VA, or USDA loans will allow this situation to happen, which is pretty cool. Now, if you have a conventional loan, it gets a little harder. Let me just walk through what I know about that. And again, you have to do your own research, just throwing out ideas here. All of this things I share with you today is educational. I should have said that at the beginning. It's all educational. And this is not financial advice. Go seek out the professionals that really know stuff. Just trying to give you some ideas. All right. So the assumption, excuse me, on the FHA, the VA, or USDA, it can be a fixed note or a variable, an adjustable rate. Those all are assumable as long as the buyer qualifies. They're qualified assumptions. Okay, and so the old bank has to approve it, but they will approve it as long as the buyer is financially qualified. Okay, boom, they take over. They might have to pay a small fee, etc., but they can take over that really cool low interest rate, low payment loan. So that's why the buyer wants it. The seller loves it because they get out of this thing. Right? In the down market where things aren't selling, this becomes a way to get out of the property. And finally, an assumption sale property is going to be more valuable than one they have to go get a new mortgage on for all the reasons I just talked about, but mainly because of the payment. So you might have a property that would normally sell for $500,000. You can sell it for $525 or $550 because it has this great low payment. And what you do as the buyer is you look over the entire payment schedule, over the entire remaining payments of the life of the loan versus a new loan. Run those numbers, they're going to be a huge difference. And that's why it makes more sense. It's kind of like why people buy a car for more than they would if they buy more when they get a loan than when they pay cash, because they're getting down that monthly payment to where they want, okay, as far as the front end price. All right. Anyway, take a look at those. They're going to be pretty big. Oh, one final thing there. Conventional loans do not allow this currently. They have due on sale clauses. I'm not completely convinced that is for all of them, but that's what we're going to say for today. I do know this, that on many of the conventional loans, they will actually allow an assumption, but on an adjustable rate mortgage, probably not going to be viable. However, I wouldn't rule it out. Let me explain. Let's say that they got an adjustable rate mortgage when the interest rate was 3% and they got a 2.6, which means the maximum amount it can move up or down is 6%. That means the worst that loan could get is 9%. It would take 3 years to get there. If interest rates do something crazy like they did in the 70s, I don't expect this, by the way, but if they did, and they get up to like 18% on a 30-year fixed, which happened in the 70s and into the early 80s, if that were to happen and the interest rates in the going market were 18% and you got an adjustable assumable loan that worst it can get is 9%, that thing just became very attractive now to assume as well. Makes sense? Okay, so keep that one in mind also. All right, let's do this. Let's go to the last idea for today, and that is free and clear homes. Free and clear homes. This is where the seller owns the property outright. There's no mortgage. Okay, there's no financing or lien on the property. This is kind of shocking. What percentage of the United States homeowners have no mortgage on their house at all? Do you know what percentage? Ready? 40%. 40%. 4 out of 10 homes have no loan. That's incredible to me. Now, I've seen it in the past. It's always kind of shocked me when it was 10 to 20%. I didn't realize it got so high, but I guess that makes sense with the demographics, baby boomers, and the next generation coming up where they're getting towards retirement. They paid off their home. Whatever the reason is, 40% don't have a mortgage. These people have amazing flexibility, right? They could sell their home and get any kind of financing to buy them out, but they can also turn around and sell it with financing. That's where it gets very interesting. And I think you're going to see a lot of this if we go into this down market. It happened before, again, in the 70s and 80s. I think it's going to happen again, where you get into seller creative financing or seller carryback financing. Owner will carry. OWC was the old way you would see it. That's where the seller becomes the bank for the buyer. And so the buyer puts down a bit of cash, they negotiate how much, and the seller becomes a bank for either a first or a second. So you could have a first come in and cash out the seller partially, and then the seller takes on a second. You have the seller take on the full first. It just depends. They become very creative. And then the terms are very interesting. The seller could amortize over 20, 25, 30 years. And carry it for the whole term, or they could have a balloon payment where they get all their money sooner, say 5, 7, or 9 years. There's all kinds of ways to structure these things. They get very creative. You got to use a lot of imagination. And by the way, if you get into the stuff, get your broker involved. You may need an attorney involved to write it up, depending on your state. And you may today even need a mortgage loan officer to help you write it up. Don't let any of that scare you, though. This is a great opportunity to find sellers who can get a nice income stream. See, you got to talk to the seller. What are you going to do with the money when you sell it? Well, I was going to put it in the bank. Okay, what are you going to do when you put it in the bank? What kind of interest do you get? Well, I get 3%, 4%, whatever it is today. Okay, well, what if you left it in the property and instead you got 7% or 8% on your money? Would that be worthwhile? Seller's like, yeah. Well, the seller's got these very flexible terms that they can work things out with the buyer. They can do an interest-only loan. They could do a fully amortized loan. They can do no payments for the first 30 or 60 days. I mean, they got all kinds of flexibility. And that's why it becomes really cool to work with these programs. You can make a loan that works for both the buyer and the seller and benefits them both. That's why I think you ought to be very open to this idea of creative financing. And you're going to find that most on these clear and free homes. You should be looking for them in your database of PCSOI, past clients and sphere of influence, as well as out in the open market. If I were going to be doing geofarming again, I might just create a list of all free and clear homes and start geofarming that group. Because when they sell, they have opportunity, and you can market to them some of these opportunities to make you stand out and be different, because you'll know how to put these things together. All right, that is the list of the 5 ways to find clients in the down market, plus the 4 bonuses. I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to close this down for a second and see how we're doing. And boom, now we're all back together. I hope that was helpful and that you got something out of that. And boy, I went a whole 35 minutes. That's a long time. Anyway, let's do this. Let's open up and ask if anybody has questions on anything that they saw or comments about what they saw at all. And we can just kind of have an open dialogue. If you have anything you'd like to chat about, go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know what you're thinking. And I'm looking over here in comments first. And I got Bob says, how about subject to good in this market? Hey, Bob. So subject to is another advanced creative form. And it's very interesting. That's where a buyer takes over, buys a property subject to the existing mortgage. Little riskier today because of due on sell clauses on the current mortgages. Back again, if you were in creative financing in the 80s, they were very interesting if you didn't have that due on sell. If you do have a due on sell, you got to be super careful and what I advise there is if you want to get in that realm, you better get an attorney involved. You have to get an attorney involved to make sure you're covering both the buyer and the seller, because that can get really weird. It may be an option, but let me just say you're getting into some risk. Get an attorney involved, but I do appreciate the creativity. It's what you got to start thinking about is creative solutions. Jacqueline says, hey, thank you. Super helpful. You bet, Jacqueline. And let's go ahead and open up. If you got something to say, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Let's hear it. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Mike?
Yeah, Bob.
All right. I'm just really getting back into one of your programs, which I just started using recently. I bought it a long time ago. Still got dust on it, but I'm really getting involved with the mega open houses.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is I just moved from one part of Florida to another part of Florida. I get a little verbose, but I'll make it real quick. And in my board, they're really accenting open houses. In fact, every week at the board, they have a meetup of realtors and vendors there, mortgage people, new home sales, and they're really trying to highlight open houses, okay? Open houses. And I've kind of got involved with it. First I was going after FSBOs, and that's a difficult market, but it's doable. And then I got involved with a broker who a lot of realtors do not know how nor want to hold open houses. Even though I'm going to this meeting, they don't have a clue. I mean, they're being told kind of how to do it. So I'm right now following up with your program. I'm literally going after the listings that are out there and seeing if I can show the properties for them and become the buyer's agent. And we'll see how it goes. I have another FSBO, which I'm showing off this weekend, and it's a super value. It's kind of in a very exclusive area, and it's hard to get into the property. But other than that, it's a perfect sale. He's been trying to sell FSBO. He tried to sell it on the market with a realtor starting about a year ago, and he had it way too high, and he followed the market down, and he can never sell it. So now it's right where it'll sell, and I basically am showing it as I'm your buyer's agent. So I really like to talk to you a lot of time about more about the mega open houses. I see them very viable.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Bob. Thanks for bringing that up. So what Bob's talking about is we have a program called Mega Open House System. Mega Open House System. You can learn a little bit more about that if you go to mastermindagentacademy.com. There's a page there. You can kind of check it out. But what that basically does is talks about how to do an open house on a big scale so that you can get a lot of people involved. And a lot of people, I'm sorry, let me just help here. Get a lot of people involved. Get a lot of buyers through and sellers. That's the key to this thing. You get it so big, you create a giant event. These things are going to be big again. And you are correct, Bob. I think it is a really good idea to open up and look at these mega open houses. There have been a lot of people who've done exceptionally well with it in the past, not just to pick up buyers, but also to pick up the sellers. Depends on how you do your marketing. We go into all those kind of details. I don't want to go into all that right now because I want to keep kind of on topic, but it is a good opportunity. If you have an open house system you like, go ahead and start looking at implementing that. There are going to be a lot of listing agents that don't want to do the opens. As Bob just mentioned, they're happy to let you hold their house open if you don't have one of your own. And then as Bob also picked up, a great way to do this is for sell by owners. And maybe even expires, but for sell by owners, you just say, hey, I'll just hold your house open. We'll bring in buyers. If they work great, I'll have a buyer for you, pay me a co-op. And if not, hey, no problem. You got all this exposure and it's just an opportunity for you. They're going to be happy. And again, as this market slides, they're going to be tripping over themselves to let you do it because they want an opportunity. And then the other thing that happens when you do these mega open houses is that the fit for FSBOs is it's kind of like a job interview. They see how hard you are working to get a home sold. They are now very likely to hire you to list that property. Okay. So just remember that you're really on a job interview with them. That's the secondary part of this. So make sure you're smiling and being friendly and constantly being positive with them, because they are going to probably say, hey, Bob, you did a great job on this open house. I know we didn't find a buyer, but you think you could come in and work with me to help me find a buyer? Because I'm getting tired of doing this thing on my own. Or you could flip it around and just say, are you getting tired of trying to push all this thing out there? Do you want a professional to pick this up for you and make it work? Boom, there you go. So, Bob, thanks for bringing that up. And I really appreciate that, the Meg open house idea. Another good one. Let's do this. Let me keep on this topic just for a second in case people have any questions about those 9 ideas we just shared, the 5 plus the 4 bonuses. Anybody else have any ideas, any questions about any of those you want us to go through or talk any more about? Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm looking at one question. I'm sorry, Bob, just a second. I'm looking at a question that just came in on chat. Tatiana says, a great list. Can you discuss how to sell without the MLS? Ooh, okay. And I'm not sure what the question is there. Do you mean like a pocket listing where you don't have anybody in the MLS involved? Or are you talking about FSBOs who are trying to sell with or without an MLS? I'm not sure I understand the question. If you could type in a little more, unmute yourself and let me know what you're asking there, Tatiana. I think I'd maybe be able to answer a little better. Client does not want to list on the MLS. Wow. Okay. Well, you might have been able to get away with that in our super fast market. And if your market's still hot, maybe you can. It would be hard as we go into a slower market to find buyers without the MLS. Not impossible. When I was really flying, I was double ending 25% of my homes. So I was true brokering, right? And if you go to other markets like Australia, they don't have an MLS. They do all of the connections themselves inside their own brokerage. So it is possible. It's just that the reason we created the MLS was you can get a lot more exposure to a lot more people and put connections together a lot faster. And it creates better pricing for both buyers and sellers. My first advice to you would be, if you got a seller who doesn't want to list in the MLS, you better check with your MLS, because if you're a member of that MLS, you may have a rule or an obligation to list it. And I apologize, it's been a while. The realtors, if you're a realtor, you may also have an obligation to list it in the MLS too. If you have those obligations, find out, number one, talk to your broker and or those groups. And if you do and your seller insists on not doing it and you decide you want to move forward on it, you're going to have that seller sign a disclosure that they recognize they're not going in the MLS, that this is probably going to attract a lower price and fewer buyers, and maybe none at all. You've got to walk through those. So let me just say that's how you would do it. As far as the seller, I would go a step further though and say, why? Why do you not want to be in the MLS? You got to find out there's something going on. They don't want their neighbor to know, don't want a friend to know, don't want I was going to say a spouse or maybe a strained spouse to know. I don't know, maybe some issue that has legitimacy you want to find out, but it's probably not a realistic number. Okay, something with family is what I'm looking in chat. Okay, again, may want to track down exactly what. If you think it is sufficient enough that it's a true issue, then again, go through all these disclosures issues. Now you're going to want to do things like mega open houses to find a big group of people. You're going to have to go find the buyer yourself. You're going to have to advertise to your sphere to try to pull in from there. Maybe you got a buyer in there who wants it, or they know somebody who does. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to be what's called a market maker, right? A market maker, like out on the stock exchange. You're going to have to actually bring the buyers and sellers together. It's not impossible, but here's one other thing I'll say. If you do go down that path, you're going to have to charge a much higher commission because you're about to do a lot more work and have a lot lower chance of success. This is a risky transaction for you. The other thing is try to leverage the, I don't know how you do without the MLS. Are they not going to let you advertise the property? You got to find out more. If they at least will let you advertise the property, you can try to leverage. They're probably not going to let you put a sign in the eye. I was going to say you can do sign calls. Can you post it in social media? You got to find out some more information. If your hands are tied and you can't promote that thing to anyone, unless you already have some buyers in your pocket that you think can connect, it's going to be an uphill battle. So I hope I answered your question on the selling a seller who doesn't want to put it in the MLS. Usually, in my experience, when that comes up, it's something that it's not a real problem. It's just kind of something in their head they're worried about. Don't want the neighbors to know they're selling or something. Or I don't know. Again, you got to dig. But if it's a legitimate problem, find out how tied your hands are and whether you really want to take it on. And then get ready to do some work. Good luck with that one. I hope it works out. All right. Anybody else? Unmute yourself. Let me know what you're thinking. So we're by the way, we've kind of worked our way into phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 is how can I get more referrals? And phase 3 is any general question on how can I do more real estate business? So we're kind of doing both of those. If you've got one, go ahead and say it. I'm going to look at chat, make sure I didn't miss anything, because some people, they have a problem with their speaker or they're in an area they can't talk. I think we answered that. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. I think we got Bob again. Bob, go ahead, unmute yourself. Tell me what you're thinking. I need to help you, Bob.
I got it.
There you go.
All right. Is there a good source for us to get a referral business of agents who are looking to semi-retire from the business, but they want to keep their license with a brokerage like EXP? I mean, is there a good source for that, or how would you go about finding them?
That's an interesting point. And you've stimulated a couple ideas for me. Our list can get really huge on different ways to generate business. But let me talk about your specific, and then I'm going to do a spin-off on that, Bob. I'm sorry, I'm just going to mute you just so that we don't get feedback. So as far as going out and finding agents who might be at retirement, one thing is just to promote to them directly. I've actually done that in some of my marketing, where you just reach out to agents, say, hey, are you getting towards retirement? Are you thinking about just hanging up your license? And don't do that. Why don't you just keep your license in referral mode? There are different companies that allow that. Just keep it in referral mode and get referrals off your business. Keep talk. Believe it or not, I talk to a lot of people who they don't want to completely retire. They just don't want to run around as much. So what they want to do, they want to keep talking to their sphere, right? Keep marketing to them and keep getting the phone calls. They love talking on the phone. It's something they love to do. The group of people I'm talking about, I met a bunch of them. And they're like, I love talking with my people and I want to help them out, but I just don't want to run around. My eyes are out, or whatever the issue is. I got a lot of different people, physical issues, or they just don't want to run around anymore. A lot of different reasons. And what you can do is you can offer to them to have referral business, which is they take the lead in, they qualify the lead, and then they hand it off to an agent, either in their office or another office or whatever, and they get a referral fee for that. So in order to receive the referral fee, they have to have an active license. But there are these situations where you can do a lower level active license. Again, there are brokerages allow this, including one which Bob mentions is EXP. They have a referral division now, where it's a very low cost way to keep your license active and to receive referral income. So that is an option. Now, one of the spin-offs I want to mention on this while I'm thinking about it is if you're trying to grow your practice, one of the things you might do is you might start reaching out to agents who are thinking about quitting or retiring. Okay, you're gonna have both those groups. So somebody who's been around a long time, those are your best source for this next idea. They just want to retire. Another group is they're people though they need to get out of the business for whatever reason. Okay, not making enough money for whatever reason, or they've just realized it's not for them. But both these groups may have a sphere of influence. All right, they may have a group of past clients and a group of friends and family, a database, and what you can do is you can offer them this. Hey, let me take over your database and I will pay you for your database. Okay. Now you can do this structure many different ways. You could pay them a flat amount and then they just cash out and they're done. Like you could just say, I'll pay $100 per person in the database, or I don't know, whatever you come up with. It depends on how effective that database is. Be a little cautious about money up front, but it's something that's beneficial to them. And then it's a much lower price if you're paying cash up front. The other way you can do it is you can say, hey, look, let me take over your database and I'll sign a master referral agreement. And anytime that a referral happens out of that database, I'm going to send you a percentage of the closing. Okay. And usually the way that one works is it's a much higher percentage in year one, say 50%. And then in year two, it goes down to 33%. In year three, it's 25%. And then after that, anything that occurs just remains with the broker, the agent who took it over. Okay. And that allows the person who wants to kind of cash out to get some of their money, cash out, and start moving towards retirement. That's actually a really good way to grow your business. People have done that in the past. And as this market slows, you may see that opportunity again. So keep your mind open for that. If you hear of an agent in the office saying, I want to quit or I want to retire, say, hey, do you mind if we have a little private conversation? I just want to throw an idea past you. And just say, hey, what would it take for me to take over your practice? Believe it or not, some of them might just hand it to you because they just want somebody to take care of their people so that they can move to Florida or move to California or move to Alaska, I don't know, wherever they want to move to and retire. They may just be willing to cash out and hand you the list, or they may want a little bit of lump sum cash payment, or they might want some referral or some combination of those. And you can work out all those details. If it makes sense to you, you move forward. If it doesn't, you don't. But that is the way a lot of people have accumulated a quicker database at the beginning. Okay. All right, so that's the idea. Good on that one, Bob. Thank you for sharing that idea and concept. We got a couple minutes left. Does anyone else have anything that they want to chat about? Any more ideas on either anything we've gone through or anything that you have a burning question or issue you want to get out there and you want to get the mastermind working on? By the way, I haven't done a very good job in the mastermind. I didn't open it up to everybody for responses. In fact, let me do that. Anybody have any response to any of the ideas we've talked about so far? Bob has been asking us some questions, and Tatiana did on the chat. Any answers for them? If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what you think. Okay. Well, I'm going to open up for one last round of anybody have anything you want us to chat about? Again, anything we talked about today, anything that's in your real estate practice you want to talk about to get better at, anything at all. If you do, now's your big chance. Unmute yourself, tell us what you're thinking, and let's see if we can help you out. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I do appreciate everybody being here. I hope this was very valuable to you, going over the 5 different ways that you can find a client in down market. What I'm going to try to do, by the way, is I'm hopefully recording this. And then if that comes out successful, we'll go ahead and post that out there on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, which is Mastermind Agent Network, mastermindagentnetwork.com. You can find all these things we've done. And then also in our Facebook group, the Referral Mastermind Call. Hopefully that's all helped. I do appreciate you all being here and participating. Thank you so much, Tatiana and Bob, and I'm trying to remember somebody else did participate too. I'm trying to remember, Jacqueline. And thank you again for being here and participating. Hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye now. All right, be productive.